If you could just give us a little recap of your thoughts on your play at this particular point, and so far a very successful first week.
Yeah, it has been. It's today was tricky, I think, to navigate through that second set and just trust myself and hit out. But all in all, happy to be moving through to the third round with some work to do. But we're pleased to be able to go through and get another opportunity.
Okay.
Stuart Miller from the Sydney One. You talked about navigating through the third set. One of the things that I noticed was with you is whenever you seem to hit a rough patch, you seem to have a better grasp on how to right yourself right after that than so many players on the tour. Is that just kind of the way you're made, or is it like, do you have to consciously say to yourself something that gets you back on track?
No, there is that conscious change. I think when things aren't going right, if you can't change it, you're digging yourself into a pretty big hole. And I think being able to reset, and a couple of times I was disappointed with service games today. After when I was serving for the match and early on in the second set, I just played two pretty poor games, but being able to respond straight away was a big part of that match, and just refocusing and narrowing my focus and remembering what I needed to do to win the match, as opposed to getting flat and passive where I was letting her control a little bit too much.
You wanted to follow?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
just one other question. One thing I noticed, particularly in the first set and a half today, was on Monday you kind of moved very quickly away from your two-handed backhand and really used your slice a lot. And for more of the match today, you were mixing both in. I felt like at the end in those last, in that service game and stuff, you kind of went back to just slicing. Had you worked on straightening out the two-hander between Monday and today? Was that something that you had focused on?
There's nothing wrong with my two-hander. I just wanted to. No, I mean, I knew the slice would be effective today, so that was a tactic of mine to bring in the slices as much as possible. And I mean, it was a game plan, and I wanted to execute, and it worked well. I know that it doesn't work every single time I hit the slice, but over time, that repetitive motion for my opponent having to get down and have to rip up these balls are not easy to control. So I think me being able to control the tempo with my slice was one thing that I wanted to use today.
Court.
Courtney Nguyen, WTA Insider. Congrats, Ash. Crazy night last night here, but I'm curious this morning, what was it like for you to kind of wake up and see what the situation was and get onto site and warm up and all of that sort of stuff, and how much of a curveball was it all?
Yeah, it was pretty devastating last night from everything that I heard, and obviously keeping an eye on the radar. And when the rain did hit Manhattan side, it seemed like a lot of rain, but trying to grasp what was happening here on site was quite unbelievable. And I know that there has been a lot of flash flooding and a lot of people in trouble. So, I mean, hopefully a lot of people from site got home safely, and New Yorkers in general were able to get home, because it was quite a wild storm. And I think it did wreak some havoc. Obviously, there was a later start today, I think, because of obviously the damage to the site. But for us, it took us a while to get in this morning, but we kind of allowed for that time, expecting that there would be a little bit more of an issue than just a normal commute coming in. So I think we were kind of prepared for it in a way as best we could be. And yeah, we just kind of got on with it.
Okay, one more.
And then also, Ika Swiatek was talking about practicing with you before the tournament. Maybe you warmed up today, I don't know. But what do you kind of make of her? She's just make of her. And what is it like, the experience like for you, and what do you get out of kind of practicing with other top players ahead of big tournaments like this?
Yeah, we practiced with Iga on Sunday. I think Monday, I think it was. But yeah, we're obviously good friends. We love her team. We get along really well, and we have a pretty relaxed kind of relationship, which is great. When we hit, we go hard and we practice, we play well, and then when we're kind of off the court, it's pretty relaxed, and we get along and have similar interests, which is cool. And we warmed up together this morning. She was a little bit stuck for warm up with some of the changes, and she jumped out and hit. And I mean, for me, I don't think too much of it. It's obviously we get an opportunity to practice. We've played the once and then kind of practiced a bunch together. So someone that I enjoy practicing with. I enjoy being around her and her team.
Okay, we'll go Craig and then Ben. Craig?
Ash, two things. The shadow that was so far into the court, was that difficult to have any gauge on returns coming out of those shadows or going into the shadow? And the second thing is there any concern about the situation when you're serving for the match? You've dropped serve second match in a row. It happened at Wimbledon with Kerber as well. What happens at that point?
Yeah, the shadow is difficult. It takes some getting used to, and the way that it moves across the court is something we were prepared for. You just accept it, and sometimes you lose track of the ball kind of last minute, but it's the same for your opponent, so you kind of can't think too much of it. And serving for the match, I mean, it's happened a few times, but I've won 40-odd matches, and it hasn't happened a lot, so you guys can write about it as much as you like. It's not a concern for me. It's just a few of those games I haven't been able to get up and hit my spots on first serves, and when you give good players looks at second serves, you're going to get hurt, and it's simple as that. And I mean, there have been a few matches where it's happened, but there have been absolutely plenty where it doesn't, so it's not a concern, not something that I focus on.
Okay, Ben?
Hello. You mentioned Carson's ego. I'm curious if you think she gains any sort of extra strength or conditioning with these enormous books she's always carrying around. You see her reading them, and it sort of stands out that she always seems to be having these big books and going through them pretty fast too. A track phenomenon, but you obviously see it much closer up.
Yeah, we saw she was reading Gone with the Wind last week. We asked her about it. I'm a massive reader myself, and you know we've been chatting about what books we have been reading, and I think that one was 1,900 pages. I think she said. And I said to her, I've had a 1,000-page book or 980-odd page book last week, and that was long enough for me. So I don't know how she stays interested in the big one for so long, but I prefer little ones that don't make my arms tired.
What have you been reading recently?
Just general kind of easy novels that take the mind away from your everyday life.
Okay. Billie?
Ash, coming into this tournament, what were the biggest questions that you thought you had to answer for yourself in the early round matches, and how have those answers been for you?
Well, I think each and every round is a test. I don't come into this tournament with any expectation of myself to feel entitled to go deep into the tournament or win the tournament or whatever it may be. It's just I have to play each and every match as I would every other tournament and be prepared to play my best tennis as best I can on that given day against my opponent, and that's all I can ask of myself. And whether that's a first round or a final, my preparation and everything doesn't change. And I think that's been a massive part of our year is accepting that you don't win every single tennis match, and you're certainly not entitled to make big finals or put yourself in the latter stages of tournament. You have to earn that right. And I think chipping away in these first two matches has been good. The tennis hasn't been as clean as it was a couple of weeks ago, but we accept that. We keep working and go back to the practice court tomorrow, and now we give ourselves another opportunity in the third round to try and rectify that.
May I ask one follow-up?
One more.
What, if any, momentum carries over from Wimbledon, and how does that affect you?
Wimbledon was a long time ago. There's momentum in a sense of that was one of my greatest goals was to win that tournament, and I think playing and understanding how to win Grand Slams is very unique. 2 weeks is a long time to be focused and to be able to have a bit of luck, stay healthy. I've learnt that the hard way, that's sometimes that doesn't always go your way, but also it's a different surface, it's a different tournament, completely different conditions. So it's hard to take too much confidence or momentum from that event. It's for us, we just come here each and every day and try and do our best, and that's all we can do.
Okay. Court, last question.
Ashley, you just mentioned 40-odd wins. Based on statistics, based off of what other players say when they face you, your game is a tough one for people to solve at the moment. And I'm curious, when you do opt to practice with other players, particularly top players, is there ever anything in the back of your mind that's like, well, I kind of want to keep it all still a little bit of a secret and a mystery? Like, does the mystery do those practices start to impact my aura of my game or things like that? Is that something that you think about?
Oh, there are no secrets anymore. There certainly aren't. Everyone, I think, sometimes when you haven't played someone for the first time, obviously there's that period where you're feeling each other out and trying to understand what patterns you're going to play, and you can do all your homework you want for tendencies and kind of comforts of the other person, but when you match up against someone, there's always an option where they're going to change and they're going to adjust and they're going to adapt. But I think once you've hit with someone once or twice, you you learn pretty quickly. And I think for me, I tend to hit with the same 10 or 15 girls. I enjoy their company. I love to test myself against different types of girls as well, but there are certainly no secrets anymore. I think a lot of players, I think there's all the vision in the world. You can do everything you want in a sense of getting your tactical vision and kind of understanding the way that someone plays. So when you're practicing with someone, in my opinion, there's no point trying to adapt or adjust because then you don't get out of the practice session what you need. So there are no secrets. I just play, do it with a smile on my face, and that's all that matters.
Okay.